Wait, is this my intro music? Can we play something that people actually know? Yes, perfect. And then I'll say, thanks for listening to... No. I'll say, thanks for tuning into... You know what? Literally, no one cares. Hello. It is me, your host, Jay. Welcome to Literally No One Cares, where it has been quite a while since we have recorded because of some little minor legal battles I'll get into in a minute. But anyways, I am so happy to finally be back, and I cannot imagine kicking off or ending this hiatus with one of my near and dear and great longtime friends. Now, let me tell you right now, if anybody of you thought that your life might just be derailing or, going through a lot of changes unexpectedly or not, and you think you can't get through it, let me tell you, once you hear from my friend, you're gonna be like, I can get through anything. Because if this bitch can get through it, so can you. Please help me introduce my near dear friend, Renae. Renae, how are you? Tell us everything.
Well, that was one hell of an introduction.
I'm sorry. I just can't help it. I am in a great mood. I am feeling fantastic, and I decided I needed to put a little bit more out there.
Well, I'm doing great. First off, thank you for that beautiful intro to me. I didn't think my life was going that bad, but hey, there's a positive, positive line to every story, is like I like to say, or silver line to every
No,
cloud.
I know people are gonna think I'm being so mean to you, but it's not. Actually, if anything, not to get into too many details because this is your story to tell. If you want to tell it, is I'm just impressed with how you take all these train wrecks and turn them into what's a positive thing that a train wreck comes out of a train wreck?
Gold.
Gold, yes.
Yeah, gold.
You turn train wrecks into gold. That's the old time saying, right?
I don't know.
No.
I like to think of it as a beautiful movie, just a roller coaster.
Yes.
There's always ups and downs.
Absolutely. No, definitely for sure. No, all jokes aside, I think you're doing amazing in life. We'll get into some more details later on. But anyways, Renae, tell me everything. What have you been up to? What's all the hot gossip? What's the 411?
Well, nothing really that crazy new. Right now, I'm just planning my upcoming trip this summer. I'm planning on going to Europe, and we'll see if I come back.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I have to tell you about a trip that I'm trying to plan to. Okay, don't make me say the area because I'm very bad with geography, but is Paris in Europe?
It is. We were supposed to go together.
Okay, cool. But Paris is in Europe, definitely, sure, right?
I think it is.
I don't know, girl.
We have
You
an
can't.
American education. Geography was definitely not one
Listen,
of my best subjects.
I actually blame the Texas education system on my lack of geography because your boy from, I went through all ages of high school with the exception of a couple of years in all ages of high school, excuse me. I went through all levels of grade school with the exception of a couple of years in Texas. So do I know all Texas history? Absolutely. But I know nothing about world history, world geography, and the fact that I am a 30-something-year-old man and not have any knowledge outside of my own country is shameful. But yet here we are. So you are planning some trips. But before we get into that, let me tell you, I just came back from a trip.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
How was your trip?
It was fantastic. So, for those of you who don't know, I travel a lot for work for half the year. It's kind of chaotic from like March through September. I'm constantly on the go to not very many glamorous locations, unfortunately. Or actually, I'm very happy to be traveling. I'm very happy to be meeting a lot of people in all these different cities that I have maybe even developed friendships with because I visit them so frequently. But they're not in the most glamorous of places. I think the number one place that I go to is Des Moines, Iowa. Now, before you guys knock on it, let me tell you, I have learned to love that city. It's the biggest city in Iowa, I believe. It's actually a little bit of a wealthy city. There's a lot of Fortune 500 companies in the headquarters there for many different reasons. Lots of great food, lots of beer if you're a beer person. It's like they have a brewery, a microbrewer on every freaking corner. But the people there are just really nice. It's the Midwest. You know what I mean? And I I'm obsessed with that. But girl, I didn't tell you. Now, you've met my dog before, right? Obviously.
Yes, yes. You
Okay.
want something super ironic about that? I was actually also just in Iowa. I don't even know if I told you that.
You were in Iowa?
I was like 2 weeks ago.
Girl, tell me.
Sioux City. I went to go visit some of my family. So my mom actually grew up there, and I haven't been back in 6 years, almost 6 years.
Wait, Sioux City's in Iowa?
There's two. I think there's one both in South Dakota and in Iowa that I've also been.
Wow, that is so. I wonder if we were there at the same time. We should have coordinated these
We
things.
should have went to a microbrewery or something.
Oh, there. Trust me, you could just turn around and there's one. It's ridiculous. Wow. Okay. No. So. Yeah, I was traveling. Now I travel all the time, and I fly. I fly constantly, and I usually choose American Airlines. I just think they're really easy to work with. They have a really great system to upgrade to first class. It's like it's dynamic pricing, all based on an algorithm. And then your boy here,
Mhm.
who love no matter how much money I have, I love a deal,
We love
and
an upgrade.
we do just a deal or a discount in general. And I have figured out their algorithm on how to get a first class seat like relatively inexpensive. So about like how many seats are available versus the length of the flight versus how far in advance from your flight you take off and like what time they update their prices. And I've kind of got it down to a bit of a science that I would happily share with anybody, except now I hate American Airlines.
Oh my goodness. Can you
And
please just tell me anyway? Because I need to know. Regardless if you hate them, I still need to know how
yeah,
to get
okay.
this deal.
We'll definitely have to get into that. But let me tell you, so I travel with my dog, and for conditions that are nobody's business, he's registered as a full service animal. And I don't even have a severe disability by any means, but he's registered as a full service animal and he travels with me all the time where I go. And then actually, that is the number one reason why I choose American Airlines is because they always make it very simple. For those of you who don't know, if you want to register your animal as a service animal, and excuse me, if you have a fully registered service animal and you want to take him on a flight with you, choose American is what I would normally say, because you get online, you get all the information you need, your doctor signs it, you send it all into American Airlines, and usually within a couple of hours or even a day or two, they will email you back. They will give your dog its own service animal ID number for American Airlines. And whenever you do any flights from that point forward, you no longer have to submit paperwork anymore. You just say, I'm traveling with an animal. You put in your service animal's ID number, either the American Airlines issued one, and within 15 minutes, boom, it's added to your ticket. There are no questions. Occasionally, girl, I'll get a question, and usually they're pretty good. I think one time it was actually here out of my home airport in DC, DCA, and I had my carry-on, which I don't usually like to have, but I had a carry-on, and then I had my backpack, and then I had my animal in his carrier, right?
Mhm.
And you know how you can only have like one carry-on item plus one personal item. And now, trust me, I be reading the fine print on all the policies very, very well, especially since I travel a lot and I want to make sure I'm not doing anything incorrect. Like, for example, I cannot sit in an emergency exit row with the animal. And sometimes people don't know that until it's too late, and then you're mid-flight, and they're like, "Hey, you need to move." Learned that the hard way. Um,
Hmm.
but so I'm getting on a plane on this one different occasion, and I'm about to board, and the lady's like, "You need to consolidate your bags," and I was like, "No, actually, I don't." And I'm very polite about it. She's like, "You're only allowed one personal item," and I said, "Oh, the carrier, it's a service animal inside," and she's like, "It doesn't matter. You have to consolidate," and I'm like, well, actually, no, it's not considered it's not considered a personal item. She goes, yes, it is. And then before I could argue back, her coworker like stopped her and was like, oh no, he's fine. He's good to go. And it's just like, she was just so adamant right off the gun, even though she was wrong. Well, I experienced that just a couple of weeks ago. And Renae, I have to be polite at these airlines because the second you show attitude or any type of anger or aggression, what do they tell you?
You're out of here.
You're
Yeah.
done.
You're
You
not
ain't.
you're not gonna get on this plane. Mm-mm.
Yeah, the only thing I'm gonna get on is a no-fly list. I'm getting myself on a little NFL. It's ridiculous. The worst
And
kind of
then you can't
NFL.
fly American Airlines anymore. What are you
I
gonna
don't think,
do?
girl,
You're gonna have to fly Spirit.
is a no-fly list limited to one airline or is it all airlines?
I think it's actually airline specific, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
well,
You
I
might know
don't
better than
know.
me.
I'm okay, no fly list limited to one airline. Also, I can't spell. Actually, no, it's a DOT thing. I think it's all airlines
Oh
for X amount
no.
of time. Department of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, where are you? Anyways, so I'm like, all right, cool. So I get to the airport and I'm going to check in, and they're like, oh, you have an animal with you. Now, I'm going to say this. I forgot to add him to my ticket. That is on me. Okay? No big
Mm-hmm.
deal, but I also know how it works. So I go to check in. They're like, oh, you need to add him to your ticket. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, I was like, oh, wait, you're right. I do. My apologies. So then I try to step away so I can do it on the app. And he's like, no, you need to go to the counter. And I was like, no, 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 no. I'm going to do it on the app. He's like, no, it's policy. You have to do it on the counter. And I said, actually, sir, the policy is I have to do it online or calling. I was like, the ticket agent cannot do it because it has to be approved by a third party agency. And he's like, no, no, you have to go to the counter. And I'm like, and so this is me saying, I don't think that's correct. Meaning I know it's not correct, but I'm trying to be polite. So nope, he sends me to the counter and they're like, you need to do X, Y, Z. And I was like, no, I already have his ID number. I just need to add it. They're like, no, you have to submit all your documentation. I was like, actually, no, I already did this a year ago. It's good to go. And I was like, I did my documentation. I got his ID number. I added to the ticket. They're like, no, that's not how you do it. And I said, Miss, I said, I have flown over 20 times in the last 3 months alone. That's exactly how it works. That's your policy. She's like, no, it's not, sir. And I said, ma'am, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm very familiar with the policies because I try to avoid situations like this. And
Mm-hmm.
she again counters me, and I'm like, okay, I'll wait. Fine. So she's doing her thing, and then she's like, well, it has to be approved by a supervisor. And I said, actually, ma'am, the supervisor is not going to allow it. The supervisor is going to tell me that I have to contact the corporate office. So they take me to another counter, and we're there. So mind you, the entire time that they're countering me, I'm on my app. What am I doing, Renae? Adding my dog to the app. Boom, it gets sent through. And then I'm trying to tell this woman this, and she's like, and so I was like, oh, look, I said, as a matter of fact, I just got the confirmation number that he's on. She's like, well, are you going to show me the email? And I said, yeah, but you should see it in your system. And I showed her the email. She was like, well, it's not registering in my system. And I said, listen, I'm not sure if there's a system delay, but I'm telling you right now that I'm going to be able to get through security with my dog. Like, there's no issue. She's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, okay, girl, let's do this, girly. So we go to I get escalated to like another level of management. Now I'm at third level of management.
It's impressive.
I know. And I never even asked to see a manager. At this point, get me a Karen haircut. So I'm at third level of management, and I have 3 employees now telling me that I'm wrong. And I'm like, listen, he's already added the ticket. I have the email. This is ID number. They're like, sir, that's not how you do it. And they keep telling me that the process of doing this is incorrect. And I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to be rude. Again, I'm very familiar. And then I guess their system updated, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're good to go. It's just because. And I'm like, I know what it was. Oh, I forgot, Renae. I forgot. Okay. So I'm almost going to
Did you get upgraded?
No. Well, yes,
After
I did.
all
Yes.
of
No.
that?
Yes, I did. But we'll get there, girl. Don't tell my story.
Oh.
Okay. So during this whole process, another gate agent comes up and starts reading me off other flights I can take to get where I need to get to Des Moines. And I'm like, whoa. I said, I'm going to make my flight. He's like, no, you're not going to make it because your luggage is not going to get on. And then I said, okay, well, how about we put the dog thing aside for now, and you take my luggage and check my luggage. And he's like, we can't do that. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, we cannot check you into your flight until we can check your dog in. And I said, wait, you're telling me you can't check me into my flight until I get my dog here? The dog you're saying is not on my flight. And I'm like, make it make sense. And at this point, I'm getting frustrated. He just looks at me. I was like, yes, remember how you're saying there is no animal on my ticket? Well, then just let me check in without the animal. He's like, we can't do that. And I said, are you sure? And I was so upset. So finally, I forced them to check me in. They checked me in. Fast forward again, like I got to already. They realized they were wrong. They're so thankful. And now I have to sprint to my gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm at the gate now. And this is when I go to the gate agent. And I was like, listen, here's what happened. And I have all the information. I almost missed the flight. I have everyone's name. I said, I do also notice there is one open first class seat, which I would love an upgrade, or I can write an email.
Okay, Karen.
I know, but I said it so
Okay,
politely.
Karen.
I said it so politely. And
Let's get you a bob haircut next.
But here's the deal. I said I can write an email not only to American Airlines, but I can write it to the Department of Transportation and the I forgot I said it there because I was reading the pamphlet, but whatever the name of the service animal handicap
Disabilities Act,
something
right?
like that, yeah. And they upgraded me to first class. So lucky me, awesome, having a good time, get on my flight. It's a direct flight, nothing crazy, no meal that's involved or whatever. So I am now on my flight and I'm having a good time. And the flight attendant is actually decently, decently friendly and cordial and just doing her job. And then she had a baby. She had a toddler on her hip. Like when I say toddler, that's probably too old. I want to say this baby. I'm so bad with guessing ages, even as an adult or even babies. I mean, unless to me, they're either like they're 0, 10, or 50. Like, but
Was it about 5?
no,
Right in the
no,
middle,
it
younger
definitely
than
was
that.
about 5. I think it was like at crawling age, but maybe not walking age. Okay,
so like 3, 2 or 3.
Probably younger, because it wasn't even speaking words. Like it was still putting things in its mouth, like things it shouldn't be putting in its mouth. So like definitely crawling age.
2. Yeah, let's go with 2.
We'll go with 2. I'm glad we've spent 2 minutes on this 17-minute story that's going nowhere.
And this was the flight attendant. She had a 2-year-old on her hip, a 2-year-old baby.
I'm getting there. So clearly there's another parent on board she's being very friendly and cordial. Well, I see the flight attendant carrying this baby, and she's walking around, and she's like waving its little paw. That's paw. What do they call on humans? Hand. Yes, that.
The baby paw. The baby paw.
It's this little human paw on my face. And at first I'm like, get this baby away from me. You know what I mean? Like, I typically upgrade to first class if I can, if it's not too expensive to stay away from babies. Now you brought it to my face, but whatever. But then I'm like, you know what, Jay, be human, be kind. She has a baby. I have a cute little dog. So I reach down and I pull Fitzgerald out of his carrier, which again, if you check a pet, if you pay for a pet, your pet must remain in its carrier under the seat at all times unless you purchased it its own seat. Right? Mm-hmm. But a service animal does not have to remain. The only thing it has to be is tethered to you, or you have to hold it. So I pull him out and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be great. This baby's going to love this, right? Well, when the flight attendant turns around and sees Fitzgerald, her demeanor changed and it went from light and funny to hostile and aggressive. Renae, she goes, oh, you have to put that away. And I was like, okay, that's not what I was expecting. I mean, it took me by surprise. When she turned around, I thought she was gonna be like, oh, here, little human, look at this puppy, right? And I was like, actually I don't. She's like, yes, you do. And I said, no, he's a service animal. She's like, no, he's not. And I said, yes, ma'am, he actually is. She goes, well, he's not on my manifest. And I said, yeah, I'm fairly certain he is, because if he was on my ticket, he must be on your manifest. She goes, well, I need to see your ticket. And so I have my paper ticket, which I hand to her, which the baby takes out of her hand. And then as she's still arguing with me, the baby now is like chewing on my paper ticket, right? By the way, as 2 boarding passes with it or whatever. I don't know what else. No, it was my luggage ticket was on it as well. Was on it together. And then I was like, yes, he is. And then she's like, well, no, did you get an email confirmation? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I did. And so I pull my phone out and she takes the phone from me. And she starts going through my emails. I wish my nudes were somewhere for her to swipe. That would have been amazing. right? So she grabs my phone and I was like, okay. And she hands it back to me. She's like, well, I'm going to need a copy of this. And I'm like, okay. I mean, sure. And then she's like, I need you to send it to me. And I said, I have to send you my personal email that came directly to me from my device to you. I don't even have Wi-Fi right now. And she's like, well, I need a copy of it so I can file a report. And I'm like, a report? Ma'am. Now I'm getting a little snappy, right? And I'm like, a report? She's like, yes, I have to file a report for this incident. And I said, this is not an incident. And she goes, yes, it is. He's not supposed to be on board. And I'm like, okay. Now, Renae, I pick my head up real quick. Everybody in first class is staring at me. And also, the people are like peeking their head from coach were staring at me. Now I'm humiliated. Because as far as they think, I did something wrong, right?
You snuck this dog on the airplane.
Apparently so. Like,
Oh my goodness.
now my anxiety is high. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I look like I'm causing a scene. Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. So I'm like,
Follow-up question. Was
tell
this
me,
before or after his haircut?
bitch.
That's all that can go through my mind right now.
We're going to get to that while I continue boring people with something that nobody fucking cares about. But here we go. Literally no one cares about this. All right. So I'm like, okay. And she's like, well, I'm going to go get my device because my device has a camera on it. I'm going to take a picture of your device. And I said, well, do you maybe want to put the baby down first? She got so pissed when I said that. So she like literally storms off, practically throws this baby back at its mother. Even the mother was like, kind of like, she was just like, oh, I cannot explain it. Like, imagine you throwing a package at someone. You're like, oh, I guess I'll take this. That's exactly what it was. And she comes back with her device. No, she storms off to the back of the plane. She comes back a few minutes later, and she's like, you know what, sir? It is on my ticket. It is on my manifest. I am so sorry. For some reason, usually when we look at the names, it has whether they're military or they have a pet or an animal or an unaccompanied child, and there was no letter next to your name. So I don't know what happened. I'm not sure why, but I am so sorry. And when I tell you, she kept trying to make me laugh the rest of the flight and whatnot. And all I said was, I see your first name. May I have your last name? And then she's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Everybody just calls me Sue. And I was like, I'm very well. Sue's a nickname for Susan, but I would love your last name. And I was like, but if you don't want to give it to me, that's fine. I have the flight number and everything like that. So she did not want to give it to me. She was being extra, extra nice. And she ultimately did give it to me. And I'm not going to dox her on here. But nonetheless, I was like, what the fuck?
Susan.
Like, I was like, what the actual fuck? So that was my experience of getting to Des Moines, Iowa.
Wow.
And it was traumatic. And I hate to say traumatic because people go through way more traumatic things. But like, I had anxiety at the airport because I thought I was gonna miss my flight and that was really gonna suck. And then mid-flight, when I had everybody looking at me, I was like, this is absolutely humiliating. Terrible.
Was it because of his haircut? Yes or no?
If you ask me, okay, listener, for what you don't know is...
Because, I mean, I think that would make it so much worse as well.
For what you don't know is, and I'm still not done. I still have more American airline drama leaving Des Moines, going to my next work trip, where flights ended up getting delayed and canceled, and I got stuck in Phoenix for the night, yada, yada, yada. But no. So now I'm in my second work trip location. I was in beautiful, gorgeous San Luis Obispo, however you want to say it. Everyone there just called it SLO. SLO?
Slow, okay.
Yeah, as a former Californian, you're familiar.
I've never heard of it.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know if you're saying these places right, but yeah, it sounds correct. Slow.
Yeah. So I'm over in SLO, just doing some little work teams out there. And anyways, I was there for a few days, had a beautiful time in SLO. I have to tell you, Renae, remind me to tell you about this little gayish boy. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I'm going to delete that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll leave it in. Remind me to tell you about a coworker.
Oh, it's a coworker too.
Yes, I know.
Ooh,
12. No, nothing
slim
happened. Nothing,
pickings.
nothing happened between he and I, but he was just adorable. It was hilarious and weird. But anyways, so it's time for me to leave. It's time for me to leave slow, as the locals call it. And my dog was super, super fluffy. He is a toy poodle, and I usually let his hair get really, really long. I just love it. It's great, blah, blah, blah. But, he got into some rain and puddles and water, and ultimately he was just very dirty and very smelly. And
Mhm.
I don't travel with him when he smells. That's a little rude and inconsiderate of, people around me, because I have some sense of decorum.
Hopefully,
Um,
yes.
Hopefully. So I realize I'm on a time crunch. I don't have the time. I will not have the time to blow dry him. That takes a long time. It's an hour. But I will trim his hair down. That way, his drying time is a lot less. Was dumb of me to even think of that plan, because I could have utilized the time that I was going to trim him down and just applied that time to the excessive blow dry time that I needed, and all
Of
would have
course,
worked
yeah.
out. But instead, I got the clippers. That Yes, I was traveling with his dog clippers. Don't question things. But I got his dog clippers,
Wow.
and I am shaving him down so quickly and so rapidly. And then I got him washed and dried. And of course, when he's a little fluffy, he looks good. But as soon as that fluff goes away, my poor boy looks like he has mange. He looks like a wild animal. It is so choppy. It is so disgusting. Maybe I'll post a picture
See,
of.
I think that's why that flight attendant's like, put that thing away. What is that? The baby probably got frightened too.
I would understand it if that was the case, but he's beautiful. He's looking at me right
It's
now.
a cute little boy.
He's looking at me right now like, why are you talking about me like this? I'll fix it, baby. I'll fix it. I promise you. But yeah, it was quite the travel experience. And I will tell you this, that when I decided to leave slow, I did switch my flight from American to United and had zero issues. And now I've booked my next trip, which is in 2 days. So I've only been home for I've only been home for 2.5 days. I just got back yesterday. I'm flying United because I just don't want to deal with American right now until they answer the white girl emails that I did send them. No offense to beautiful, beautiful white women out there, but you know the saying.
Susan.
Susan. And
Susan.
all because of Susan B. Anthony.
She's like, call me Sue. Don't use my whole name.
I was like, girl, we're gonna figure it out who you are.
Oh
Don't
no.
worry. We're gonna
Well, that
figure it
actually
out.
reminds me, I was also flying back recently as well. And normally, like, most people are very, like, normal on flights, subtle, like, leave themselves alone. Sometimes there's awkward small talk, but whatever. So I got on this plane, and this girl, first off, she had no shoes on. I've never seen anyone on an airplane without shoes.
That
Like,
is disgusting. And
that's
as someone
gross.
as someone who doesn't mind feet at all, that is disgusting.
And there's more. She had this most disgusting sandwich that just reeked the whole plane of onions. And it was just like, I'm like, oh no, how did I get stuck next to this girl?
See,
She was absolutely beautiful, but no,
some
no
people
awareness.
some people's children, that is absolutely, that is the reason why we need to bring, oh my god, I swear, one of my favorite podcasters, she's always saying that we need to bring shame back.
You think I should have
Shame,
said something to her?
shame needs to have a comeback like Britney Spears had a comeback. It
Hmm.
is, it is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous that people just, first of all, I understand the airports have no rules. I remember one time, girl, I forget how many, this wasn't that long ago actually. This was maybe a year and a half ago. I'm at the airport and I look over and I see this guy, like this perfectly abled man, not a handicapped, you know,
Okay.
perfectly able man, a PAM. And he is on his phone scrolling, and then he just like leans his head back, and then his significant other, female, I'm assuming it could have been a spouse or a sister, but I mean, whatever, you know what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure it's a significant other, reaches in and starts picking his teeth.
That's
And
just like not a normal thing you do. Not in public, not anywhere. Like,
And
I
first of all,
can't.
I get into some pretty weird shit behind closed doors. That isn't the safety and privacy of my own home. But to be in public, have some decorum, and that is not socially acceptable. Yes, as much as I hate some societal norms, other ones love. And not being a freak in public is one of the ones that I love.
Yeah, I think
No,
that's a little
I
little
always say
beyond
it.
that.
NPF, no public freaks. NPF.
Yeah,
I cannot. That was disgusting. So she had no shoes on. Like, did she have
correct.
shoes with her?
I didn't see him. She didn't have him under the seat. I'm like, where did
So
she put her
that means she took them
shoes?
off and put them in a bag or something.
She, I later on in the flight, she reached up overhead and grabbed her shoes. I'm like, no way.
That is
Did she take that much time out of her flight to take her shoes off and put them in the overhead compartment? Like, you're too comfortable on the plane, and then ate an onion sandwich.
that is like sometimes when stuff like that happens, I'm like, I'm definitely on MTV's boiling points, right? This is the
I
test.
honestly.
I was
And then
like,
she opened her soda. This is the best part. And the entire thing just splashed.
yeah,
And it got over. I mean, I was the only one sitting next to her, but just, and she's like, oh,
that's called karma.
sorry. To who? I didn't do
Oh,
any. It
you.
splashed me.
Oh, you got a
I
stray.
was
You
I was
got
the one that got
stray.
splashed.
You got stray spray.
Yep, I got the onion sandwich. I got the nasty feet, and then the stray spray. The stray
This
spray.
this is when you lean over and you just say, "Get help." And I have done that to people. Usually, okay, maybe not on a flight because you're stuck to them,
Get
but like
help.
I've
It
done
would have
that.
been a 2.5 hour flight next
Exactly.
to
But
this woman.
I would have done it at the end of the flight. At the very end, I would have got my stuff in my overhead compartment, got my backpack on me, got my dog in one hand, looked at her and said, "Get help," and then walked off.
It was very bizarre. Very, very bizarre time, honestly.
It sounds absolutely that's just wild behavior.
Punked. My episode of Punked. That's what that was.
Where the fuck
Every
was
day.
Ashton Kutcher
Every
when
still waiting for
you
that day to come.
needed him? When you
Mm.
needed him. Oh my goodness. Okay. But I will say this. On my flight back, it was 5.5 hours. I was heavily considering, that's not true. I was like, I'm going to upgrade to first class. And I did. And this is one thing, this is why I do love and miss, formerly loved, but still miss American Airlines. Because I already talked about I think I've cracked their algorithm,
Right, yeah.
because they'll do dynamic pricing to whereas other airlines will not. See, American says, we don't want to fly with an empty seat. We'd rather lower the price than fly with an empty seat. In fact, we'd rather take a paid upgrade than a point upgrade because
Hmm.
collecting $50 is more money than collecting 100,000 points, right?
Sure.
So that's American Airlines' theory, if you ask me. That's my theory on American Airlines' pricing model. Other airlines say we can give a fuck if there's an empty seat. You're going to pay $1,000 for first class, or you can be a bum in the back. And most often, end up being Rosa Parks all over again. So, if y'all can see Renee's face. So most often,
Yeah.
for example, my flight back for my 5.5 hour flight, Renee, guess how much it was going to cost me to get first class, an upgrade, not just a downright seat. Like I already spent, about $375 on my ticket from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. It is cross country. I'll say that. Guess how much?
Total ticket price?
Just for the upgrade.
Upgrade $600.
In my dreams, higher.
Higher than that. Oh no. Oh, let's go.
It's like the price is right.
800.
Higher.
Ooh, 12.
It might as well have been. It was $997 to upgrade to first class. I said, are you outside your mind? Are you outside your mind to get a lot more leg room and maybe a meal?
Maybe.
No, that one definitely would come with a meal. But I was like, that is ridiculous. And guess what? There were 3 empty first class seats across that flight. So that's where I'm like, oh, y'all make it so hard to upgrade because you charge us outrageous prices for those first class seats. But anyways, I flew back, had no issues, beautiful, gorgeous plane. American Airlines doesn't always have the nicest planes. So I'm just saying this American airline girly might be converting
to who?
A United girly,
United? Lately,
I
I've actually been
guess.
flying Delta, which is
I don't think I've flown Delta in forever. Who
really?
knew this was going to be a podcast on airlines and how much we hate them? But we
Yeah.
do, we
Yeah.
do. But I will say this: on my 5.5 hour flight, of course, I got the Wi-Fi because how can you not? And I
Hmm. Of
attempted
course.
to watch a show called The Rehearsal that ended up being about planes crashing. So I stopped watching it, and I got on TikTok.
That's smarter.
And
Yeah, smart.
yes, and I am so happy because just like my parents were glued to the screen watching a white Bronco fly down the road carrying or being driven by one OJ Simpson. The late OJ Simpson, may he rest in peace or not, depending on how you feel about him. That's a lot. I'm gonna stop talking about him now. Um
We don't need to get into that today. Maybe tomorrow.
I know. Let's unpack that later.
Yeah.
Next week on Literally No One Cares, because literally no one cares about this. Um, I am glued to the screen because did you watch the original? The original, as if it's a series. Do you know who Karen Reed is?
Yeah, I watched her. I watched everything on the first trial, but not anything on the second
I
time
am
around.
grinning ear to ear because somebody finally understands the Karen Reed trial. I did watch that first one, start
Every
to
single thing.
fucking
Yep.
finish. Oh, I was a couch juror. I was like, I can't come into work today. Jen McKay is getting called back to the stands. I
Yeah,
have
of
to watch
course.
this live. Oh my
I
god, it was
watched all the
amazing.
reviews, all the highlights,
Ugh.
all the lore. I
So
saw everything. Yep.
let
Carry
me
on.
let me try something here because for those who are not paying attention to the Karen Reed trial, I'm gonna see if I can get my boyfriend, also known as Chat
ChatGPT.
GPT,
We love him.
summarize the Karen Reed trial in one paragraph. So those who don't know what the Karen Reed trial is, because trust me, I could probably have a whole separate podcast, multiple episodes just on her. So okay, here, this is ChatGPT's words, not mine. The Karen Reed trial centers on the 2022 death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, whose body was discovered outside a fellow officer's home during a snowstorm. Prosecutors allege that Reed, intoxicated and angry, struck O'Keefe with her SUV and left him to die. Evidence presented includes broken taillight fragments, and O'Keefe's DNA on Reed's vehicle. The defense contends that O'Keefe was beaten inside of the house during a party and that Reed is being framed in a police cover up. The initial 2024 trial ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury, my favorite kind of jury, leading to a retrial that began in April of 2025. This case is garnered. Okay, this didn't get as juicy as I wanted it to get, but essentially,
That was
um,
essentially good. That was good.
Homegirl is being framed. I
No,
have
that's what I think too.
and all of America because I've even gone on
Yeah.
TikTok and tried to find, and I have found like five or six, but try to find people who are like team prosecution, you know, and it's difficult. It's difficult because it is wild. I mean, this judge, everybody knows everybody, all the police officers, all the witnesses, all the ambulance personnel, and the paramedics and the EMTs, uh, to include special investigators that came from the outside. One came out of retirement, to also include the judge. All know each other. The judge was even asked to recuse herself. She said no, she can remain impartial. Clearly, she can't. You can watch for yourself. And then at the end of the
Hmm.
day, it ended up being a hung jury because they couldn't decide yay or nay on Karen's fate. It is wild. Now they started her retrial that just started last month, and I am obsessed. Have you been watching her retrial?
I haven't watched any of the new stuff.
Girl, you need to get on
So
Karen
like,
Reed Talk. You need to get on Karen Reed Talk. I'm going to hang up with this chat. What are we doing with this podcast when we're done? And I'm going to send you the link to her live stream from the courtroom.
oh,
Um,
okay, I can watch a whole month of feed. Got it.
it is wild. There's even more evidence, right? There's even more evidence that they've been able to get over the last year or so.
Has to.
So it is so good. So that has definitely consumed a lot of my
Wait,
time.
so what is the new evidence that's come out? Because I still remember
They have
everything.
gotten you're like, I know it all. They were able to get more police cam footage. Like they got all the footage instead of just bits and pieces from before. The body cam footage, they were able to get more eyewitness testimonies. They were able to poke holes at other people's eyewitness testimonies. They were able to poke holes in all the testimony from the special, what are they called when they bring in like an expert on something? Like right now, the craziest thing is the girl who is talking about how cell phones work and how browser windows are opened and when things are searched and deleted and timestamps. Well, apparently she used that exact same criteria for another case in Maryland that court records are sealed. But after she testified in Maryland, a judge, and we don't know what happened because it was sealed, but we do know that because as a result of that court case in Maryland, a judge officially on paper deemed that witness as unreliable.
Oh.
We don't know the details. Also, for those of you who are watching and maybe missed this last part, Judge Bev, or Auntie Bev as they call her, because everybody on the prosecution side knows who the fuck she is.
Is she still the same judge as
she
well?
is the same judge. And that's, I'm sorry, I'm almost an attorney, but not a full attorney.
I don't see how that's...
Because I thought they got a whole new judge and a whole new jury. Apparently, they just got a whole new jury. The judge remains the same.
I think she's too close to everything, personally.
Obviously. But... Well, they pulled her aside. They had a little whisper on the sidelines, as they call, I forgot what they call it. A sidebar?
Sure.
Yeah, that little thing where they whisper up in the little front.
Legal term.
Yeah. Legal terms.
Non-legal terms.
Legal terms for whispering outside the group chat. And then she came back and she addressed the jury and was like, hey, sometimes I get a little frustrated and sometimes I like speed things along and sometimes you can see me get annoyed, but that's just at the attorneys and the lawyers doing their job. It has nothing to do with my bias. I don't think I have been biased, but if I have, you can't take that into consideration. So in other words, they're speculating. They pulled out a sidebar and were like, bitch, your bias is showing.
Well, she just basically said she's biased.
Exactly.
That's okay. Yeah.
We rest our case.
That she literally just said that. Yeah. In your words, maybe not hers, but in your words, she said that.
Yeah, exactly. It is wild. I could go on and on and on, so I will spare you more detail. But you know what's funny? Sorry. I have an acquaintance, coworker, friend, somewhere, a little Venn diagram of all of those. And he is a police officer in Boston, but he has his little job on hold because he's doing another job at the moment. So he's still in, like, not active. I forget what they call it, but like,
he's in the circle.
Well, no, actually. Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Because this is like a suburb of the Boston area in Canton, right? Mm-hmm. Canton, Massachusetts. But he's a Boston PD. Boston Police Department police officer. I'm making shit up now. I was laying in on the case. I felt bad at first. I thought he was like just kind of joking with me about being annoyed and frustrated, but homeboy was not. Homeboy was getting frustrated with me when I was like, what's happening is we're in a dinner setting. We're at a dinner, and I am explaining it to one of my friends who had not heard of the Karen Reed trial. And so I'm like, oh, girl, you got to watch this shit. And I just laid in like I just did right now, but in full detail. And he's over there like actively like defending and denying. And then I thought he was joking. And then, because I know he was Boston PD, but I know he has actually been there in a few years. He's decided to go do some like humanitarian missions and stuff. And I'm like, bro, like you're actually getting a little like upset. And then of course, you know I can't back down. So like I double down on it, and we may not be friends anymore. But
well, you know they teach the police to protect their own, so of course he's gonna get upset. But
obvi hashtag back the blue.
Yeah. Yeah, only if you got to.
I love it. So that has been what I have been up to for the last couple of days. But listener, I didn't explain to you why I was gone for so long from you all.
From us here in Texas?
No, not from us, but anybody who listens to my podcast.
Okay.
Let's just call I spoke something into existence and now I regret it.
Oh, you gotta
So
be careful what you wish for.
I know I had made a little jokey joke about like being like sued for like a reason why my season one is no longer available, and I was like, oh, I just whatever. I took it down because I was sued. I just took it down honestly because it fucking sucked. And it was terrible. And I'm just trying to like rebrand and get out there again, but whatever. Well, for my opening credits, I decided to license music, and it's a small clip from a Sabrina Carpenter song.
Mhm.
And I pay a monthly fee to use that like 8-second clip. Okay. And it only took a month or so after being up to be flagged. I think it's all automated because I don't think I was ever speaking or emailing an actual person in it initially, but it was flagged, and then I was told that I can't publish any more episodes until I, remove everything, and I had to go back and forth and say no, I pay for it, and I had to send all the documentation in and send all the information in, and it took months for them to finally give me the go ahead. And in that time, I probably should have been recording episodes to publish, but I was like, why? Because if this is cleared up in a week, cool. But if it's not cleared up for a couple of months, I'm not going to publish outdated information. Not that no one's coming here. I mean, no one's coming here to get the news, but I don't want to talk about, something that happened 2 months ago. Like, I don't know what happened 2 months ago. Like we have a new president or something, like.
People still talk about that, but
Yeah, they do. They do.
but we don't need to get into that
No, no,
today.
no, 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 we do not. Speaking of today, did you know that May 9th is has a few national days associated to it?
Ooh.
May 9th is the day of birthdays and events. Don't really know what that means. But it's also National Knockout
Okay.
Rose Day. Again, I'll say that. It is National Knockout Rose Day. So if your
Rose
name
better watch out.
Yeah, it's apparently always the Friday before Mother's Day. If your name is Rose, you better watch your fucking back. I'm pretty sure this has something to do with the flower
You think?
rose
To
because
be
it's
honest, I've had a rose knock me out a few times or put me on my back, but
because
that's
it
a
was
different story.
because it was
Kidding.
because it was founded in 2025 this year by the Roses and Plants Foundation. It is also National Homefront Heroes Day, so
Okay, thank you for
thank you
your
for your service.
service.
Yes, thank you for your service. Um, it is also National Sleepover Day, so find a friend, go sleep over.
Cool.
And if you have a sweet tooth, it is National Butterscotch Brownie Day.
Mm. I prefer dark chocolate, but that's
I
just
bet
me.
you do. Listener, she's not talking about candy. Anyways,
I'm talking about chocolate. Oh my god, a mouthful.
I am
Wow.
sure she is. Renee, I am so glad you let me ramble on. I let you speak all of 3 words this whole time. But I really just needed to get this off my chest. It's been so stressful.
I understand completely. I love to hear you talk.
Oh my God, thank you. I love to hear my
You're
own
welcome.
voice too. Why else would I be doing this narcissistic hobby of mine? But Renee, I'm super excited. For those of you who don't know, I'm going on yet another work trip. Again, I leave on Sunday. This one is bringing me to my old, I don't want to say old, my former uh why am I being so weird? Bringing me back to the city I used to live in, San Antonio, Texas. So I have a lot of friends,
Never
good
forget.
friends, close friends, acquaintances, people I used to go out and get crazy with. And I am super excited to figure out how to balance professional me and um, unprofessional me. So, Renee, I cannot wait to see you in a couple of days. Say it back.
Me too. I can't wait to see you as well. Holding like a knife to my throat or something. Jeez.
Oh my God. Renee, do you have any words of advice before I let you go and not say any more words?
Any more words of advice? Be careful what you wish for and manifest your dreams.
Manifest your dreams. And I have to say,
Mm-hmm.
um,
I'm
I
manifesting. Wait, do you want to hear what I'm manifesting
tell
first?
me what you're manifesting.
I keep telling everybody this, and
Tell
they
me.
just agree with me. Okay, so listen to this. Big bank account. Just kidding, cut that part out.
No, hey girl, if you want to manifest a big bank account, you go get your
Yeah.
BBA. BBA people. You go get your
Big,
BBA, big bank account. I am here for
big,
it. But for everyone
6,
six figures,
6'2".
six to oh, six to big. She wants a BBA and also a man who is 6'2". I'll just take a BBA with six figures.
Amen.
Amen. Amen or amen. That's enough.
Ooh.
that is enough. I'm gonna call it. Remember, thank you all for listening. To literally no one cares. And like I always try to remember to say this, make sure you are taking care of yourself because literally no one cares about you the way that you should care about you. Take care, Renae. I'll see you in a couple of days.
Bye.